Wars, Chapter 1. The Queendom had been enjoying a tentative peace ever since the time, 12 years earlier, when unbridled bloodshed spattered the doorsteps of every Wonderlander. The Civil War hadn't been the longest in all of the recorded history, but no doubt was it one of the bloodiest. Those who had entered a little too quickly into the carnage and destruction had trouble adapting to life during peacetime. When hostilities ceased, they ran amok on the streets of Wonderland's capital city, looting and pillaging Wondertropolis, until Queen Genevieve had them rounded up and shipped off to the Crystal Mines, a spiderweb-like network of tunnels carved in a far-off mountainside, where those unwilling to abide by the laws of decent society lived in windowless dormitories and labored to excessive crystal from the unforgiving mountain. Even after these people were taken off the streets, the peace that settled on Wonderland was nothing like that which had existed before the war. A third of Wondertropolis' quartz-like buildings had to be rebuilt. The smooth turquoise amphitheater had suffered damage in an air raid, as had the public works towers and spires sporting fiery reflective pirate skin. But the scars of war are not always visible. Although Queen Genevieve ruled her queendom judiciously, with care for the well-being of her people, the monarchy had been forever weakened. The coalition of Diamond, Club, and Spade dynasties that made up Parliament was falling apart. The matriarchs of the families were jealous of Genevieve's power. Even though she could rule Wonderland better than the Queen, each watched and waited for an opportunity to wrest control from her, keeping a none too friendly eye on the other families in case they happened to make a move first. After 12 years, the daily life of Wonderland had returned to what might be called normal, where you were to walk Wondertropolis's gleaming streets, enjoying the sights of its jagged crystal buildings and shop fronts, where you to pass the stations where Wonderlanders arrived for work in sleek glass tubes hovering on cushions of air, were you to stop and purchase a tarty tart from a vendor and relish its tarty tart flavor bursting upon your tongue, you would never have known that in a certain back alley, on certain open plains, precautions were being taken. Regiments of card soldiers put through military maneuvers, transports produced weapons of attack, and defense disguised and tested, and you would not have been alone. Entertaining thoughts of war, Princess Alice Hart stood on the balcony of Hart Palace with her mother, Queen Genevieve. The city was in the midst of its jubilant gala. From the everlasting forest to the mountains, the valleys of mushrooms, Wonderlanders had come to celebrate the 7th birthday of their future queen, who, as it happened, was bored out of her wits. Alice knew she could do a lot worse than be Queen of Wonderland. But even a future monarch doesn't always want to do what she's supposed to, like sit through hours of pageantry. She would rather have hidden with her friend Doge in one of the palace towers, dropping Jolly Jellies from an open window and watching them splat onto the guards below. Dodge wouldn't like the Jolly Jelly bit. Guardsmen deserve better treatment, he'd say, but that would only make it more fun. Where was Dodge, anyways? She hadn't seen him all morning, and it wasn't nice to avoid the birthday girl on her birthday. She searched for him among the Wonderlanders gathered to watch the Inventors' Parade on the cobbled lane below. No sign of him. He was probably off doing something fun. Whatever it was had to be more fun than being stuck here, forced to watch Wonderlanders show off their silly contraptions. Bibwit Hart, the royal tutor, had explained to her that most of Wonderland took pride in the Inventors' Parade, the one time every year when citizens flaunted their skills and ingenuity before the Queen. If Genevieve saw something in the parade that she thought particular good, she would send it to the heart crystal, a 33-foot tall, 52-foot wide, shimmering crystal on the palace grounds, the power source for all creation. Whatever passed into the crystal went into the universe to inspire imaginations in other worlds. If a Wonderlander bounced in front of Queen Genevieve on a spring-operated stick with handlebars and footrests, and she passed this curious invention to the crystal, before long, in one civilization or another, a pogo stick would be invented. Still, Alice wondered, what was the big deal? Having to stand here until her feet hurt, it was punishment. I wish Father were here. He's due back from Borderland at any moment, said Queen Genevieve. But since the rest of Wonderland is here, I suggest you try to enjoy yourself for their sake. That's interesting, don't you think? They watched as a man floated down from the sky with what looked like a hollow mushroom cap strapped to his back. It's pretty good, I suppose, said Alice, but it'd be better if it were furry. And with that, the mushroom contraption was suddenly covered in fur, its inventor falling to the ground with a thump. Queen Genevieve frowned. He's late, Alice said. He promised to be here. I don't understand why he had to make a trip so close to my birthday. There were reasons. As the Queen well knew, intelligence had indicated that they might have already waited too long. Unconfirmed reports suggest Red was growing more powerful, outfitting her troops for an attack, and Genevieve was no longer sure that her military could provide adequate defense. She was as keen as Alice for King Nolan's return, but she had determined to enjoy the day's festivities. Ooh, look at that, she said, pointing to a woman wiggling as she walked so as to keep a large hoop swinging around her waist. That looks diverting. It'd be more fun if it had fountains of water coming out of it, Alice said, and immediately the hoop was spurting water from tiny holes all along its surface, the surprised inventor still wiggling to keep it swinging round and round. Birthday or not, Alice, Queen Genevieve said, I don't think it's nice of you to show off. The fur on the first ever parachute vanished. The fountains of water on the newly invented hula hoop dried up. The power of Alice's imagination had made them appear and disappear. Imagination was an important part of life in Wonderland, and Alice had the most powerful imagination ever seen in a 7-year-old Wonderlander. But as with any formidable talent, Alice's imagination could be used for good. Or ill. And the Queen saw mild reasons for concern. Hardly one revolution of the thermite moon had passed since Alice's last incident. Impatient with young Jack of Diamonds for some childish indiscretion, she'd imagined his trousers filled with slick, squiggling wormies. Jack of Diamonds had said he felt something funny, looked down, and saw that his trousers were moving, alive. He'd been having nightmares ever since. Alice claimed not to have done it on purpose, which may or may not have been true. Genevieve couldn't tell. Alice didn't yet full control her imaginative powers, but the girl would say anything to get out of trouble. You will be the strongest queen yet, she told her daughter. Your imagination will be the crowning achievement of the land. But Alice, you must work hard to develop it according to the guiding principles of the Heart Dynasty. Love, justice, and duty to the people. An undisciplined imagination is worse than no imagination at all. It can do more harm. Remember what happened to your Aunt Red? I know, Alice said sulkily. She never met her Aunt Red, but she'd heard stories about the woman for as long as she could remember. She didn't bother trying to understand it all. It was history. Boring, boring, boring. But she knew that to be like Aunt Red wasn't good. Now that's enough lecturing for one princess's birthday, Queen Genevieve said. She clapped her hands, and the parachute and hula hoop passed into the heart crystal, much to the joy of their inventors. An empty pair of King Nolan's boots floated out from behind the balcony door and began a dance in front of the brooding princess. Queen Genevieve, watching yet another extraordinary display of her daughter's imagination, said, Alice! Something in her tone made the girl stop what she was doing. The boots thudded to the ground. still. It's all in your head, the Queen sighed. It's all in your head, the Queen sighed. Remember that, love. Whatever happens, it's all in your head. It was both a warning and an expression of hope. Queen Genevieve, both a warning and an expression of hope. Queen Genevieve, aware of the dark forces at work somewhere in the wastes of Checkboard Desert, knew that joy and happiness didn't last forever in Wonderland. Sooner or later, the queendom would come under attack, and it would require all of Alice's imaginative powers, and then some, to ensure its survival.